amid heightened diplomatic tensions between India and Canada, came another big jolt to their ties. India on Thursday suspended visa services of all categories for Canadians. This would also extend to Canadians applying for Indian visas from third countries. Meanwhile, those Canadians who already have valid visas and overseas Citizens of India cards can still travel to India. Experts now believe that the latest developments could cast a shadow on trade too.
One is the tourist visa and the second one is business visa for contacting counterparts on the other side or for soliciting business. Now, Canadian businessmen would have presumably been coming on business visas to India. And if indeed the news item is true and India has suspended the visas, I can't fathom a guess whether it is for tourist visas or business visas or for both. Anyway, this I don't think is a good omen, and it is indeed going to hurt our business interests both ways, exports as well as imports.
Just a few hours after Das Gupta's comment, an External Affairs Ministry spokesperson confirmed that India has suspended all visa services for Canadian citizens. Earlier this month, talks on a comprehensive free trade agreement between the two countries had come to a halt. These negotiations were going on for about a decade now. Reports citing government sources claimed it was due to political reasons. And a few days later, during his meeting with Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau at the G20 summit, PM Narendra Modi flagged anti-India activities of extremist elements on the soil of the North American country. In financial year 2023, Canada accounted for a share of less than 1% of India's aggregate trade, to the tune of $8.16 billion. While India's exports to Canada stood at a paltry 1% vis-à-vis the rest of the world, its imports from the latter were even lower at 0.56%. According to Business Standard, more than 600 Canadian companies, including Bombardier and SNC-Lavalin, have a strong presence in India, while more than 30 Indian companies, such as infotech majors TCS, Infosys and Wipro, have invested billions of dollars in Canada, creating thousands of jobs. Companies with operations and exposure to both the countries are bracing for a tough time. Business Standard reported that the trade deal, which is at a standstill now, could boost two-way trade by as much as $6.5 billion.
In the past few years, especially since the relaunch of the FTA negotiations, and this time when the relaunch took place, the two countries got quite realistic, I thought. They focused on the sectors on which they are going to be negotiating, sort of the low-hanging fruit, and they had identified the sectors. And they were going systematically targeting these sectors in the negotiations. Now, those sectors are going to be hurt. I think the visa issue is going to have a snowballing effect. The moment this whole political row broke out, I was thinking that this may actually affect investments as well, because it's just not trade. Now it's going to be investment, because the Canadian government will refuse to bless investors coming into India, and that's a very important part of the whole the whole process. But now India has blocked entry of Canadian businesses into India. So this whole circle is now complete.
Canadian pension funds have invested over $45 billion in India, making it the fourth largest recipient of Canadian FDI in the world by the end of 2022. For long, Canada has been one of the favorite destinations for Indians looking for greener pastures. Over 1.8 million people of Indian origin live in the country, according to the 2021 census. They now account for more than 5% of the Canadian population.
With India escalating the standoff with Canada by suspending the visa services for Canadian citizens, the effect will also be on Canadian citizens of Indian origin. However, the issue with regard to PIOs is yet to be seen, because PIOs can travel to India without a visa within 15 years from issue of the PIO card.
And now, India has issued an advisory to its citizens asking them to avoid travelling to parts of Canada. Indian students, meanwhile, constitute about 40% of the total overseas student population in Canada. Their number stands at 320,000, and there are concerns that the flow of Indian students to Canada could slow down amid the current crisis.
We were thinking that this will not snowball. This is largely going to be very bilateral. This is going to be behind closed doors. But we are seeing that it has kind of taken a turn for the worse at the moment. I can tell you from our perspective, about 4 hours back, we said that we are going to stop all Canada-driven applications. So we are not going to help any students apply to Canadian universities as of right now until we get more clarity. Because safety of the students is paramount, and the Indian government and the Indian MEA has kind of issued an advisory that we should not be at least, I think for the lack of a better word, not be sending more people from India to Canada for the time being.
Tourism could also bear the brunt of worsening bilateral relations, although those who already hold valid visas may travel to and from their home countries. However, those who wish to apply for fresh visa applications may face hurdles. As India-Canada ties continue to be put to the test, any adverse development could have far-reaching consequences on the latter, which has been one of the top choices for Indian immigrants for several decades now. While both countries could still take the off-ramp in this crisis, Canadian experts have speculated that possible Indian tariffs on Canadian pulse crops like peas and lentils could be the first blow of a trade conflict.
If you like this video, share it and subscribe to Business Standard. For more news, views and insights, log on to www.business-standard.com. Do also follow us on YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, Telegram and LinkedIn.
He's about to land his dream job. Business Standard.